Suneer, are you breathing?
I'm breathing fine. I hope everyone in the country, in this country and in India and in New Zealand and everywhere in the rest of the
Everywhere in the cricketing
world is doing the same. Let's breathe because what we have just experienced
Yeah.
has been something that made a lot of us breathless as people of the press. We're supposed to be neutral, but we were cheering on for every run that was getting scored, every wicket that was getting taken during the end, towards the end, that super over. We're cheering for our respective teams at that stage. In the end, as a commentator rightly says, cricket was the ultimate winner because
Yes, it was.
all three results were possible, and that is exactly what we saw.
Exactly. Also, Suneer, when I started this day, sitting next to you in the media center, and we were just sharing our journeys, and we felt it's such a privilege for us to be here at Lord's to cover a World Cup final. Something I'm sure, growing up, we all dreamt of this, and it was achieved today.
Yes.
It's a special moment, but this game was something we didn't imagine, and it's just made it doubly special, at least for me.
Yes, it has been. I tweeted about the few games that I have covered. There was an India-Pakistan match at Kolkata. More than the games, the venues that I have been to, the Eden Gardens, where India played Pakistan in a World T20 match in 2016. There was the MCG final in 2015, and then a final at Lord's. So I almost wanted to say that I can retire. It's been all three great venues. But that match was something that the venue did not matter. Actually, it was the match to watch out. Whether it was Lord's or not did not matter. And a word on Kane Williamson here. The way
I think we'll just stop and
we need to applaud him.
It's an applause for a man who's been absolutely brilliant through the tournament. He's led with dignity, and I think that is.
It was interesting that when Kane Williamson walked out of the press conference, the media stood up, gave him an applause. Not so much when Morgan did. I mean, again, press is said to be neutral, so you don't expect an applause coming from any of the press guys for any of the teams. Did not happen in the Australia-New Zealand final last World Cup. There was no applause. I mean,
even though Michael Clarke was retiring.
Yes, Michael Clarke was retiring as well, but Kane Williamson deserved that applause because the way, as you said, conducted himself. I was just looking at him at that press conference, and it looked like, he had woken up in the morning, had his breakfast, or was just about to have his breakfast, wanted his cornflakes with the milk being warm, and the milk was cold, and he just shrugged it off and just had it with the cold milk and moved on. That was a feeling I got from him. Not that he had lost a match from that situations where there were a lot of uncontrollables as he used. I mean, anyone else in his place, I mean, there would have been people who would have found difficult to even walk into that press conference, answer questions after such game.
Exactly.
Hats off to the guy.
It's simply magnificent looking at someone who conducted himself so well in victory and in defeat, and it is such an example for all the cricketers out there, for anyone in fact, in our general walks of life. A lot of us can be a bit like Kane.
Right, yep.
Exactly.
As they say, it's success and failure being two sides of the same coin. Being imposters, so you conduct yourself the way that you would even when you succeed. You do that when you lose, and that's exactly what we can take away from Kane. I mean, he's been an inspiration. The kind of messages that we've been getting through for Kane Williamson.
I think someone's leaving right now.
I think the English team might just be leaving here after their mix zone. Probably is the English team leaving. I'm not sure whether this can be seen on the camera, but there are a lot of cars. There's a lot of honking going on. These are the English supporters celebrating the English win. I'm sure had this been an Asian team, would have been a vastly different reaction. Would have been a lot more noisy.
And it's just in contrast, because last time in Melbourne, when the final got over, again it was you and I walking out of the MCG, and it was dead quiet.
Right.
And now this is good to see.
This is good to see. And Morgan was asked about this. What would this win do for them? And he said he hoped it elevated the status of cricket in the country. He also alluded to there have been 3 sports happening at the same time. Wimbledon, we know it went down to the wire, as they call it again. at the same time that Federer and Djokovic were fighting out in the final set tiebreaker, it was a super over going on out here. So two brilliant matches happening side by side. The ICC Twitter handle and the Wimbledon Twitter handle also going head to head there. Would have been great had the matches happened not on the same day, but sometimes that's how scheduling works, Nishad.
Exactly, and it was such a day for sport today, and I think although everybody was gushing over Wimbledon, and I don't know how many were watching Silverstone, but I think in the end, cricket was really the winner.
Cricket was really the winner, and I mean, talking about the game itself, it's so difficult to package everything up in a 2-3 minute video.
I'm in a daze actually.
Actually, we both are in a daze.
Yeah.
That there's so many things that happened in that game. That overthrow when it hit the bat and
a couple of friends over there
ricocheted off the bat to the boundary. There were the super over that happened.
They are great people who bring you great pictures, okay? They work very hard.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Good friends of ours who were obviously celebrating the English win. But coming back, so many things that happened in the game. There was that overthrow, there was that super over, the boundary rule, a lot of talking points. We probably have to take each of them in a different video. But I mean, I'll just talk about one of them.
Yes, please.
The boundary rule. Now, a lot of people saying that at one stage in ODI cricket, a tie was decided by the
Wickets lost.
Wickets lost being that rule. It's obviously changed over the period of time. A tie has remained a tie. But when it comes to the World Cup, would you want to have a super over in the first place? Forget going that next step and using a boundary rule to decide the winner?
Well, it's a tricky one. I mean, one thing I'd like to say is that it is what it is right now.
Yep.
And we can't do anything now. In hindsight...
Which is what I would... sorry to interrupt you. Which is what I'd said even when New Zealand qualified for the semi-final ahead of Pakistan despite being on the same points. No, head-to-head could have been taken, but the rule is a rule. Net run rate is the rule.
Wait, Suneer. I think, yes, the bus is going in and the team is going to be coming out. I don't know which one.
Yes, it's I think the English team who are coming out because there's a lot of English supporters there. The New Zealand supporters have left for home. But coming back, I mean, would you have that rule in the hindsight for the next World Cup?
Well, you can take a review, get statisticians on board, get your cricket committee on board, and I think they are the best judge. And to be fair, this is again one in a million situation, and it's come to
where I'm coming from is that you as a spectator, would you want a tie to end with both teams lifting the trophy, or would you want a winner, irrespective of what the rule is?
Well, if you ask me, I wanted it to be shared between the two teams.
Which is what I was trying to get to.
Exactly, because I remember there was a NatWest series final here in 2005, just before the Ashes 2005, and England and Australia shared that. They were like, I think the score was 195 or 198,
right.
and it got so close, and that they shared that, and it was quite fitting on that occasion, and I felt it could have been fitting, but these are again all ifs and buts. Personally, I feel it should be shared.
It should have been shared. I also believe that. But then you look back at the Champions Trophy of 2002 when India and Sri Lanka had to share that trophy, and not a lot of people were happy with that as well.
That was because of
the rain rule, obviously. But not a lot of people were happy with that. So I think it's very difficult to make everyone happy.
Exactly.
We have the rules. That's how we go ahead with it. Kane Williamson conducted himself really well, and a word on England. They really played well throughout the tournament, bar those couple of losses, and probably were the deserved winners.
And finally, what a fan told me at the end of the game, it has come home.
It has come home.
Finally. And Suneer, it's been a pleasure being here in England, doing all these videos for everyone.
Yes, it has been.
And to sign off,
speaking of it has come home, I think it's time that we also get home.
Yes.
What we decided was we'll get home by throwing our badges, which I can't get to remove now, so it's Nishad doing that. Bye-bye.